Welcome to the Uplifters Podcast, where every week I talk to inspiring midlife women who are doing the most meaningful work of their lives. I'm Aransas Savas, a coach, researcher, and an expert in behavior change, motivation, and meaning. Before we dive into today's conversation, I want to just ask you to think back on the most meaningful chapter of your life. Got it? Any chance that chapter was a bit messy, maybe even painful, but also in that really complicated way, maybe there were some really beautiful lessons you learned that you never could have learned any other way. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today because my guest is Blair Glaser. She's a memoirist and organizational consultant. Blair spent years inside Siddha Yoga, a spiritual organization that she describes as a near cult experience. We talk about the seduction of belonging, the courage it takes to look clearly at something you once loved, the complexity of holding two truths at once, and how an experience can be both formative and harmful, meaningful, and worth leaving. We also get into something I think lots of you are navigating with us right now. What it feels like to carry multiple identities at once and how the stories we're willing to tell out loud on the record are often the very things that set us free. Blair is funny and sharp and so bravely honest. And I can't tell you how much I loved this time with her and reading her book, which I hope you'll all read and then we can talk about it more. So if you've ever wondered whether your most complicated chapters of life are worth revisiting, I think you're going to find your answer here. Let's get into it. Blair, thank you for being here.
Fantastic intro. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy you're here. So there's this weird thing with Memoirist that now I have this parasocial relationship with you because we went on vacation together to Kauai. It was great.
The thought of my book being read in Kauai is just
it
delicious.
Was so fabulous. We took some very long flights together to get there. So now you were in my plane as the woman who sat next to me on the plane that I got to have like over the oceans, deep, honest, beautiful conversation with for 10 hours.
Well, I'm really looking forward to catching up with you by the end of this call. And you'll be right next to me on my plane trip somewhere.
I hope so. I really okay, so the truth that I shamefully admit to over and over again on this podcast is that I'm actually really bad at carving out more than 15 minutes to read on paper. So for my episodes, 99.9% of them are read on audio, which is great. It fits my life. It means I get it done. And because I had this delicious airtime and because I was reading a galley and it wasn't available in Audible, I got to read it on paper. And so it's an extra special rare gift for me to get to do that.
I love that. Makes me so happy.
When I tell you that I basically read it in one sitting, I am not kidding.
Okay, I don't want to start crying on the podcast, but
it's riveting.
Okay, so the book hasn't come out yet at this moment. So that's just the feedback that makes an author, a first-time memoirist. My heart's bursting. Thank you.
I loved it. You've written it in such a compelling way. It's such a great story. And I'll have you explain to folks about the story and about this journey. And I imagine it's kind of new for you to do that since the book isn't out yet. So if you feel a little nervous explaining it, we're with you. We're your champions and your cheerleaders here. And we're your uplifter crew. So if it feels awkward, go back, change how you say it, and try on some things for us.
I appreciate the permission. I do.
We're in it together. But really, good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't want to say too much because I want you to get to introduce it, but I just really, really enjoyed it. So tell folks a little about what the book covers, the moment and the chapter.
Okay. So This Incredible Longing is about my journey with a spiritual path called Siddha Yoga. Some refer to Siddha Yoga as a cult. I call it a near cult experience because I wasn't kept from family or friends, and because when I wanted to leave, I left. It's a very long journey from the time I was introduced to the spiritual teacher Guru Mai to the time I ended up living in the ashram. Most people who get involved in these things, they show up and they're in, or they've grown up in a cult and it's a different kind of thing. But I really tested it. And then we came to this point where I was so depressed. I was in my early 20s. Nothing was working out. I couldn't see my way to a different future. And I just thought, I'm going to remember that mantra that I learned and that weird meditation center that this date took me to. And I felt my own energy. I felt my own inner bliss for the first time, maybe, and it shifted everything. And then I got more and more and more involved to the point where I'm living in an ashram for about 15 months, and then I leave.
I mean, and it was a pretty positive experience, it seems like.
That's one of the really weird things, okay? Which is that a lot of people I know were kind of decimated by this organization. For me, it was magical. It was formative. It showed me who I was in the world and who I wasn't. And so it's a topsy-turvy story in that way.
Yeah.
There was a time when the scuttlebutt came out about the organization where I really, wanted to distance myself from it, but I also wanted to be in solidarity with the people that were hurt. And I really disengaged from my own experience. And writing this book was something that helped me own it and not submit to the groupthink that it's all bad now that we found out that there was a shadow side to this organization.
I think you do a really beautiful job of holding that, and especially in the later chapters. And I really appreciated the way in which you honored the experiences of others while honoring your own experience. And I did think to myself as I read, I was like, oh, that's hard.
Yeah. And one of the ways that I feel that I'm balancing out this weird duality that I hold is that when I was working as a therapist, a large number of my clients were victims of sexual abuse. And now, as a leadership and organizational consultant, I'm really helping people be clear on their power dynamics. I am helping people watch when their teams start to get into this groupthink mode. There's something about groupthink that can actually be useful, which is that when everyone's on the same page, they can work better together. But when they really start buying the company sort of lure that we see in some of these tech companies, that can be dangerous.
As I read your story, I thought a lot about the women that I coach, the women that I work with in midlife. And one of the common themes that I hear in both people who've spent their entire lives in corporate careers, there's kind of this like, well, I don't want to keep doing that for another 20 years and hanging out in the background, pushing other people's rocks up hills. But I do know I want to do something more. It's really hard to figure out how or what. And that's purpose work, right? That is identifying like, what is my bigger purpose? What is it all for? And I actually think the work of writing a memoir is purpose work.
Yeah. I just had an article come out, to your point, in a magazine called Provoked Magazine for women in midlife.
I don't know what that is, but I'm going to go read every issue.
Go read it.
Provoked.
And it's online, and it's about how I spent a lot of my early 50s writing about my early 20s. And I was like, why am I so obsessed with my early 20s? And what I found out from memory researchers and psychologists is that we're training ourselves when we look back at that time to move forward. That midlife is just this time when we're in a blank slate place, because for so much of our youth, we had the career we wanted to build, the kids we wanted to get out of the house. And now what do we want the second half of our life to look like? And looking back can be part of moving forward.
Yeah. Looking way back down the road can be really powerful because you can see in a more zoomed out way, as you
Some of
said,
the choices
the good and the bad.
made, yeah, and the good
The
and the bad.
helpful
Some of the
and the
choices,
unhelpful.
yes, yes. Some of the choices you made when you were first becoming an adult that really inform who you are today, for better and for worse.
So what would you say? I mean, and you've had multiple chapters in your life. You had young New York girl who goes and lives in an ashram, the therapist, the actress chapter. Like there've been big professional segments.
Yes. I now call myself a professional vocationalist.
Ooh.
Like there's some way in which in my life I have been compelled to walk a career to its fullest point. And when the boredom sets in and the antsiness sets in, I figure out a way to move on. I hate it because financially it is very stressful.
Mhm.
But soulfully, psychologically, I'm so lucky that I've had this lily pad career where I've been able to build on the things that I learned and use those things in new ways to influence new people.
I love that language you just used about it is financially stressful.
Yeah.
Right. So you're acknowledging, yeah, this is a taxing, hard part about it, but it's not unaddressable. It's not unmanageable because you've proven to yourself time and time again that it's manageable.
I know. When I come to those points, like I've been writing this article for Sari actually about this. And
so for those who don't know who we're talking about, Sari is the creator of Old Star magazine and Memoir Land and lots of other great work, and Memoirist who you can listen to her story in an earlier episode. And she nominated Blair for the show. All right. So you're writing for Sari.
Thank you. And just acknowledgement for Sari and her greatness, but about how what happens to me when I come to the end of a career is I literally feel this wave of knowing I'm so done with this. And the dread comes and it almost has a sound like a, and that's when I shit, like when I was younger, it wasn't such a big deal because nobody really had any money and we were much more mobile. But now it's like a real pain in the ass, but I got to do it. I got to follow it. So, yeah, I'm thinking about a time when I was a drama therapist where I was in grad school. So I was a student. I had a job as a secretary at the school I was working at. I had a job as a house painter. I had a job as an assistant to a psychologist who was writing a book. And I think I had a few more jobs than that. And it was just like, that's how I made it. That's how I made it through.
Wow. Yeah. And so what do you take from that for now? When did you make this sort of mental shift in your mind to being a consultant / vocationalist?
Right. So I hit menopause a little bit early, but I was a very devoted therapist. I don't have children. So there were ways emotionally in which I felt like I was helping my clients grow up again. I had a maternal affect as a therapist, kind of big sistery, really. But as my hormones started shifting, I became really bored with that. I didn't want to sit back and absorb and listen and validate. I wanted to get in there and say, listen, you need to shut that up. You need to go this direction. Here's how I think that you can make your life better. You don't do that as a therapist. It's totally inappropriate. However, in business, it is completely acceptable to do that. And so I began to study business models, leadership development, organizational development, and made the transition. But it was something about that menopausal shift that made it very difficult to be the embracing therapist mother figure.
So interesting, Blair. Because what I'm hearing in here is that through line has been your gifts and strengths, right? Like even at the ashram, it was so much about being recognized for your own strengths.
It was crazy, right? Like I went in knowing I didn't want to be an actress anymore, but not knowing who I really was And all of a sudden, people are running around the ashram looking for me because somebody is in emotional distress and they don't know any of the other hundreds of people that were living there that might be the right person to calm this person. And I was like, how am I that person? And that reflection, that mirror of my gifts and talents for being able to sit with someone in emotional distress, calm them, help them regulate, that I found there.
Wow. Yeah. And now you've just taken them and applied them to so many different contexts over the course of your life.
That's right. That's right.
And then I think the other interesting thing here is that you have upskilled to fill the gaps between where you are and where you're going.
I love that. Upskilled. Never heard that before. That's fantastic.
Right? Like you're like, I went and researched business models.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you've got a very strong growth mindset.
That is a through line throughout my life.
It's a real gift, as you know.
Thank you. I call it a need, honestly. They're all choices that I'm making, but they don't feel like choices. I have a need to experience myself in different ways, to go up to the edge, to find a different way of expressing myself, even though all the gifts are the same in a way. So like right now, I wrote this memoir and I'm like, I think I want my next book to be fiction. Do I know how to write fiction? No, but I'm going to go on that journey and figure it out.
And are you somebody who has spent your life loving fiction writers and like imagining yourself as a, do you have the little girl, I'm a fiction writer dream?
Not one bit. I mean, I've been a writer. The one through line throughout all is writing. I've been writing. Mostly I've written service pieces, right? Mm-hmm. Where I'm dispensing some knowledge or tool that could help you make your life better. Most of my writing has been in that vein. The memoir is a departure in that I just tell the story and let you make sense of it. Mm-hmm. But I do love writing. I love the craft of writing. I love being able to express myself through words, images, and touch someone else when they're on a plane or in their reading nook or waiting for their doctor and just bring them into another world. This is different. There's a little bit of a departure for me, but something about the fun of it and the playfulness in it rather than sort of the seriousness of growth is really working for me right now.
I love this. And it's like that right now is the key. And I think it's a question we should all be asking ourselves all the time is what's right for right now?
What's right for right now?
I can learn from what was. And I can dream about what will be, but really, what's right for right now?
For right now.
So you've done a lot of pivoting, a lot of changing gears, a lot of growing. Do you get scared?
Only totally. And
what
more
scares you?
As I get older. You know, I think it's the K coffers, right?
Okay.
Like, yeah. You know, I was thinking about Jane Goodall recently, rest in peace. I love her. She's such an elegant, she was so poised. Everybody knew who Jane Goodall was and what she did. It was primates and ecology. And she was a primatologist, and that's what she always went back to. Sometimes she wrote about it. Sometimes she spoke about it on the world stage. Sometimes she broadened her thinking and connected it to ecology and all of us. But that's who she was, and that's what she did. And I have a little jealousy for someone who could build that body of work and impact the world in that way, coming from being so well-defined. Yeah. That is not a luxury that I have. And so one of the things that scares me is like, wow, I've spent the past X amount of years teaching people that I do this, and now I'm going to do this. I have to bring them along. Are they going to come? I mean, even like yesterday, someone was like, and by the way, you're a therapist, but like, you're not a therapist. And I was like, oh God, yeah, that's right. I was a therapist, a licensed therapist. Now I work with executives and organizational teams. Yeah. But now I'm a writer. Like, yeah. Who am I?
All of that. All of that. Yeah. And it's actually like, it's why I like working with women in midlife. Is because the tapestry is so rich and we get to choose what we take. Like I got my bachelor's and my master's in theater. Well, there's a lot about being an actor that I don't relate to, that I didn't like, that I'm not carrying into the next chapter and the next. Do I love people's stories? Do I love like moments of courage and like fear and like these deep universal emotions? Yeah. Right. Like in all of that, I learned in that first chapter. And so we get to like bring the threads with us. It's funny that you mentioned the thing though about being single-minded and Jane Goodall, because we've been watching Love on the Spectrum and it's the greatest.
Love that show.
It's the greatest.
Love
My
that
daughter
show.
was diagnosed at 17 with autism and OCD. And so like for her, it's been this beautiful journey into understanding her community. And because it's all still a new language she's learning. And so we all watch it together and we've had like some amazing conversations about it. And
so great.
It's been so beautiful. One of the things we always giggle at is like, what's your special interest? Jane Goodall had a special interest, right? Because they all in the show, they're all like, do we have the same special interest? Because that makes us the same flavor of person. It makes us somebody who will get along because we kind of have one very strong, narrow interest. Others of us are just not that way, right? Like we have many interests and many sparks. And so then it does rely on us to integrate those threads. And so I think for anybody listening who's in either of those camps, there is a path. And I think that's comforting to know that like, yep, there's a special interest people and they can go on a single long-term lifetime path. And then there are the many interest people who also probably carry some special interest threads.
Yes. There was a thought leadership, there was like what's the word I want to say? A little popular time of thought leadership around this where the word that was being used is multi-potentialite. Are you familiar with that?
I like it.
It's like about 10 years ago, I'm thinking that there was some writing about people like us who have many interests and want to express them in different ways.
I love that. I also remember that we used to throw around about the same time, high potential, and you were a hypo. And it's like really kind of gross actually labeling somebody like you have potential or you don't.
Yeah, no, that's not great.
So I think you bring up something here that would be really valuable to a lot of our listeners, which is this idea that you are exposing a not so businessy side of your life.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you are leaning in professionally on the businessy version of you. So how are you thinking about reconciling them?
I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I think I'm just going to continue to think about it because
snap.
No, I don't have an answer. One is so internal, so personal. The other, is an authentic expression of my professional role. I don't know how many executives that I work with, and right now I'm not working with that many, which is another story. But over time I have. I don't know how many of them are going to read the book. Partially because they're so busy.
Story. Yeah. That's a response to the worry. That one worry or fear is they're going to read it and they're not going to hire me. And so one response is, are they going to read it? And the other is, and will it influence whether or not they hire me?
I don't know the answer to that because there are people that are referred to me. They don't even go to my website. They don't have the time. They're just like, oh yeah, this person said you were really good. So I find that fascinating because I know that you know this. We spend so much time putting out our wares on social media so that people find us. And a lot of people don't even look at that website. I spent so many hours curating and working with the photographer and the designer and all that. Anyway.
Yeah. I think that's a really comforting thought, though. And I think it is a counterbalance to the fear thought, is the reality of other people's time and energy that they invest in us and trying to reconcile us, right? Which is something I come back to often with my clients. I'm like, really? Do we believe that we're the only person that other people are thinking about, or that they are really that interested in reconciling and narrowing us down into a single vision of ourselves. I mean, if it came out that you were committing heinous crimes against other people, I'd be concerned. Like I wouldn't
Absolutely.
want to work with you. I wouldn't want to feature you on my podcast if you
Good
were
to know.
violating human rights.
Right.
But that's not what your story is.
No, and I don't think anybody who's worked with me who reads this book would be surprised at any of it in terms of how dedicated I was to an internal cohesiveness, to the search for peace, turning all those stones over. I don't think anyone would be surprised at that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think probably it would only enrich the vision of you for those who are interested. But I think it's important
We'll
to
see.
acknowledge that fear, right? Because it's one of the big ones that hold us back from sharing big parts of our identities.
Exposure. Yeah, Brene Brown refers to it as a vulnerability hangover too.
I love that.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
I had to Google this morning because I had one of those midlife moments where I couldn't remember the word. And I was like, what's the word for when a lot of people see what you're doing and then have an opinion on it? And like I had to put in like a 50-word search. The word I was looking for was scrutiny.
Scrutiny.
I was like, it's not scrupulosity, but it's like.
That's right. You get like the first letter and the last letter.
Yeah. And it's scrutiny, I think, for a lot of us that we're afraid of.
Yeah. And underneath that is really humiliation, which we all have survived.
Yep. And especially those of us who are leaving our houses, who are interacting with the world, who are stretching and growing. And so if those things matter to us, connection with other human beings, having an impact outside of our own four walls, then there's possibly going to be some humiliation.
Risk.
Yep. Yeah.
Can't get around it.
No. And some of it's going to be worse than the other. And yeah, like I come back again and again to this idea that, is it worth it? And the answer is it's not. Like, it's usually not as big a deal as I think it will be. And yes, I can handle it. Come on. So what else scares you in this process? Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we're onto it. Really, it's this new level of exposure. And I was on the phone with a reporter who's international, and I thought, wait a second, like people with area codes I don't know are going to be reading this? What? I didn't even think about that. It's very exciting. And fear and excitement, as you know, are so linked. But I have something that I want to share with you that I think is going to be really powerful for your listeners.
I want to hear.
Last night, yes, I was up in the middle of the night and I had the fluttering in the chest. I was going to be speaking to you this morning, another thing coming in. And I said to myself, is this fear or excitement? Mm-hmm. And when I felt into it and I was looking at my thoughts, I realized, oh, this is fear. I'm scaring myself that I'm going to be scrutinized. I am really in the schoolyard with myself, putting myself down. And then I said, bully, you get out of the way. And I was like, I do not need to feel this fear in this moment. It's not going to serve me. It's not true. And I really, really went to battle with it. And it moved. It shifted. And now I know when I feel excited and when I feel scared and what the different sort of vibrations of them are, to be a little woo-woo. Yeah.
So what did the battle looker sound like?
It sounded literally like, no.
Yeah.
I don't need to do that to myself.
And it sounds like a bit of a command to the fear.
Yeah. It was a definite, deep-voiced, embodied, don't fuck with me. No.
That is the shift for me. It got so much clearer for me as you did that, because I watched your whole face change, your voice change, and even your like your style of speaking, the language you were using. Like
Yeah.
Don't fuck with me.
That's right. And I think we all need a little bit more of that aggression against our own inner bullies, whatever shape and form they take. There's kind of this like thing in the healing world where you're like, well, just invite it to tea and just be with it. I think that that's okay for a little while. But then when it starts hanging around and throwing its clothes on your living room couch, you got to kick it out.
Mm.
And yeah, I think that that's a powerful thing that over the years I've come to realize.
I don't think I've heard anyone say it in that way.
Mm.
I'm so into it, and I'm so going to do it the next time, very specifically, I wake myself up in the middle of the night afraid, bullying myself on the playground.
Right.
I don't know. It's something about the language of it too, and just like the whole like really standing up to it. Again, not to be too woo-woo and therapyizing it, but it
There's no
really
way around
is.
it.
I know. That little girl version of me who didn't feel stood up for and protected. I'm like, girl, I got you.
That's
And
right.
right? Like there is
And
something really beautiful about it.
isn't that beautiful? And then let's take it further. If you are scrutinized and it hurts, you will be there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we can be nice to her and comfort her.
Do all the things,
Yeah.
the baths,
Yeah.
or the warm, cuddly streamer nights and the ice cream and the crying, whatever you need to do,
Whatever.
but you'll be there.
Whatever.
You'll be there.
Yeah. 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 That's really
Yeah.
powerful. It, and I think targeting it at specific fears is especially important because otherwise it all just becomes this big, gray, vague mush.
Can you say more about that, like specifically what you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, I think what we tend to do, right, is we get into all the excuses. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have the right connections. I don't have the right talents. I don't have the right blah, blah, blah. It's victim mindset, right? Like the world has happened to me and I have no control or leadership. And what you're describing is stepping up and being the leader in our lives. And I think ultimately that is what midlife is for.
Yes.
It is for finding
Sovereignty.
our leadership legs and standing on them. And I channel Amy Cuddy every day still and puff up and embody my leadership. And I challenge the folks I work with to do the same because otherwise it is just like, this world sucks.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of sucky things happening.
There sure are.
But we can't fix them all. We can't control them all. So we find our leadership legs and we work on what's in our own backyard and we work on the things for our 20-year-old self and our 4-year-old self.
That's right.
And our 75-year-old self, who I'm real focused on right now at 50. I'm super into
about
her.
her too. I think about her too. Yeah.
Yeah. I like her. I'm excited for her.
Me too.
I'm like really going to give her the best life I can.
Yeah, me too. Like I'm in that weight room thinking about her and thinking about wanting to live in those years without pain and feeling strong enough to all those things. So I'm with you on that. Yeah.
I'm so excited to see how your world continues to unfold.
Me too, you. Me too, you.
Thanks. I'm really glad we met. And yeah, I hope everyone will go out and buy your book and read it and then consider what it might be like to share their story or to share more parts of themselves, whether as a writer or a speaker or simply like telling people they know and love the truth about who they are and where they've been and what they believe. So how can we, other than reading the book, how can we connect with you? How can we uplift you? It's what we love to do as uplifters.
Yes, absolutely. Buying This Incredible Longing, wherever you buy your books, is one thing that would be delicious so that I can share a story about spiritual growth and complexity with you. You can visit me on Instagram, Blair Glaser, Facebook, Blair Glaser. If you're this kind of person, you could do LinkedIn. And I have a Substack called the Human Intelligence Substack, or the HI Stack, the High Stack, I like to call it. as opposed to AI.
I love it.
And so if you want to follow me, you want to read more of my writing, that would be one good place to do it. But any of those places you'll be able to access.
I love it. And go to Substack because Substack is the best.
Yeah.
Very pro Substack. I'm like, let's all just get on the bus and party over there and then like stop messing around with all that other stuff that's exhausting to me. Sarah nominated you for the show. Who would you like to nominate? Who inspires you? Who would inspire us?
I am thrilled to nominate Sasha Kagan. She is the author of a revolutionary book at the closer to the turn of the century called Quirky Alone, which was for women who didn't want to settle, or people actually, not just women, who didn't want to settle, who wanted to go on living their fabulous lives until the very right person came along. But now Sasha is into a whole different mode where she is really teaching women to step up their game sensually and in their leadership. And it is a fantastic offering that she has called Pussy Walking. But there are other things. I mean, she's a writer. She's a phenomenon. I'm so pleased to introduce you to Sasha.
I'm so excited. I've been manifesting somebody to have that conversation with us because in over 150 episodes, we really haven't had it.
Oh, yeah. That's a conversation.
We've been waiting for her. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
I was a little shy to like put it out in the world, be like, bring me the ladies who want to talk about vaginas.
Do you know that I ran a workshop called the Vagina Monologues Workshop for about 6 years at the early aughts?
Oh my gosh. I remember the vagina monologues, of course, but
yeah, me too. Yeah. I know. I just come out of the ashram and I had been celibate for a lot of years and I saw that play and it was like, well, I have a lot of work to do. And then I sort of developed my own process, and Eve Ensler, who's now known as V, who's the playwright, was really sweet in partnering me in that. So
how lovely to hear that.
Yeah. I'll let Sasha talk about vaginas with your audience.
Okay, sounds good. More vaginas, please.
More vaginas.
Next, we'll get Naomi Watson. She has lots to say on the topic, too.
Yes, she does. That's good.
Awesome.
Can't wait to see her on here.
I mean, same. Blair, you are such a delight, and I'm so glad to be connected, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you somewhere in the world in real life soon. Thanks for watching the Uplifters Podcast. If this inspired you, hit subscribe and tap the bell to stay uplifted. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs a little lift today. Big love.
Painted water sunshine with rosemary and thyme. Dwell in the perplexing, though you find it vexing. Toss a star and hover, be your own best lover. Relish in a new prime, plant a tree in springtime. Dance with idle hindsight, bring the